G'day, freedom lovers. Here we are for another live event here on various different channels. You know which ones you're watching. I'll start off with a bit of support this channel. The link tree there is in the descriptions, and you can obviously, make a contribution to my empty pockets if you're able, and, like it, share it, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff. We've got a GoFundMe campaign going to get the Indigenous documentary started. You may have seen the Indigenous the Indigenous Voice to Parliament video that went viral. It's been really good, but we have so much more to share there, and, a couple of bucks so that we can afford to continue on that project would be awesome. Any questions, of course, you can send them to our Proton Mail here, NQ Freedom Network at protonmail.com. But without further ado, we have our amazing guest here today who's going to set up a bit of, or has set up a bit of a rally regarding crime. And here we have Clynton Hawks. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Good, yeah. Coming to you from the cab of the truck, unfortunately, but, that's the way the cookie crumbles. But it's good to be here on the North Queensland Freedom Network tonight to tell everyone about the rally that we're holding on Sunday. But, yeah.
Good. It's good to have you here, mate. And, I'm glad. I appreciate you taking a bit of time out in the truck there. I know we've all got bills to pay, especially as Labor continues to, ramp the cost of living up. I've seen, I think just about everything's gone up, and, as you can see from a lovely fail of the week, Palaszczuk reckons a band-aid solution of the cost of living, just throwing away some more of our tax dollars and giving them back to me. It was very nice of it. You should just not take them in the first place. But anyway.
Yeah, makes sense, eh? Yeah, just take out and rob Peter to pay Paul,
Yeah, exactly. Or rob me to pay me.
Yeah, 100%. That makes logic, eh?
Oh yeah, it's what can you expect from this government, eh? What can we expect? So anyway, man, what you've decided to make waves again. It's always entertaining to see. We loved what you did with the last crime rally. So Sunday 3 p.m. we're going to be at the Townsville Stadium, the Country Bank Stadium, I think is what it's called. Tell us a little bit about why we are doing this and how you've been inspired yet again to light a fire up underneath Anastasia Palaszczuk.
Well, basically, so yeah, like you just said, we're going to hold our second Townsville rally against crime at Queensland Country Bank Stadium from 3 to 6 p.m. We'll start rallying at 2:30 because the Premier is due to arrive at Queensland Country Bank Stadium at 3 o'clock. We will be rallying out the front of Gate F and G. She will be driving past and then going inside through Gate G. So if we can all get there and all show our frustrations at this government's inaction on the youth crime that plagues not only just Townsville, but right across Queensland. I'm a Toowoomba boy through and through. I was born there. Their crime problem is exactly the same as ours. Cairns exactly the same. Mount Isa, night after night. It's happening everywhere. But Townsville, for me, obviously, that's where I live now. That's why Townsville is the place where we'll be holding the rally. And perfect opportunity with the Premier holding her community cabinet meeting. It's just a perfect storm. So if everyone can come down and support the Townsville Rally Against Crime crew and just basically come bring a sign, write your frustration on that sign and hold it up and scream at the top of your lungs when the Premier's driving past and walking in, so she can see how much her government and her 3 Labor MPs here in Townsville have failed us.
Well, speaking of fail, I've got the fail of the week here that I've dedicated to good old Les Walker, and I will point out again, although I have done on a previous podcasts, and it's just so relevant that here he is holding this event in the park at Marabou, where the playground is burnt down twice due to crime. The second time, I think they just rebuilt it, and it lasted maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and it was down again. It's to me, it really just demonstrates how out of touch they are with what's going on in the community.
Well, and especially because they all 3 of them, all 3 Townsville's Labor members, all live in Townsville, and they don't speak up. They're 2 of them are on the backbench. One is a minister for resources. It just shows you how little power a member of parliament in one of the major parties has. They have absolutely no say of what goes on. you would think when you're casting your vote, you're going to vote for a politician who's going to have a voice for you in that electorate that you live in. Well, that's not the case, I'm afraid. These backbenchers have no say whatsoever, and that is on show right now with these three Labor MPs.
So, for those who aren't quite up with the political structure, can you explain what a backbencher is and why it is they don't really have much power?
Yep. So you've got your parliament, right? You've got front benches, back benches. Front benches are made up of ministers, the premier, the deputy premier. Backbenchers are just your MPs who don't have a position, a ministerial portfolio. So basically, Scott Stewart, the member for Townsville, he's the Minister for Resources, so he's a front bencher. Aaron Harper, Les Walker, they're backbenchers. They don't hold a portfolio or anything. They're not really high up in the ranks of the Labor Party, so they sit on the backbenches. The likes of your Premier, Stephen Miles, the Deputy Premier, and then even across the aisle, David Crisafulli, Dale Last, the Shadow Minister for Police, they're on the front benches. So they're the people who do make the decisions where the backbenchers have just got to follow the leader. Backbenchers basically, when they're in Parliament, all they do really is give praise to the ministers. If you ever watch a Parliament sitting, which I encourage everyone to see because it literally looks like a rabble of school children that have no control by a teacher. They're literally pointing and yelling at everyone, and it is quite an embarrassment to see that is what our political system is. When you've got these grown men and women basically throwing their toys out of the cot every single second they've got when they're on that floor of Parliament. But yeah, I encourage everyone to watch it because it's quite an embarrassment. But at the same time, it just shows you how little gets done. The only time you see any real politics or anything like that is when you see an independent or a minor party MP, whether that be the Greens, whether it be the Katters Australian Party, whether it be the One Nation or the independent MPs. That's when you see some actual politicians, asking the questions of accountability and I guess you could say transparency. I don't like using that word. Just holding them to account and seeing what the questions are going to be when they actually ask some serious hard-hitting questions that they're getting completely blindsided by through the minor parties and the independents. But yeah, I'm sort of rattling on a little bit there, but that sort of gives you a bit of background as to what sort of happens in that state government chamber.
I think it's another one of those things because I do tune in to see what's going on here and there, and I find it's a bit disturbing when those people, like you say, who are not part of the big major parties, presenting really good things, and you can see by the comments on YouTube when say someone like Malcolm Roberts or Bob Carter gets up and says something really powerful, and you look around and there's tumbleweeds rolling through the joint. Liberal and Labor just get up and walk out. That's so disrespectful, and what we're paying these people to do the job, and they don't even have the decency to listen to what people are saying. It's I don't know. Can you see a way that we could perhaps change that kind of structure and perhaps force those bums back into the seats?
Well, that would come down to the major parties agreeing to do their job.
Wow.
And I don't see that happening anytime soon, to be honest. Obviously, me being a part of the Katters Australian Party as a member and a former candidate, I'm probably a bit naive when it comes to that, I guess, or maybe a little skeptical. I don't have much faith in our two major parties to make a conscious and common sense decision, but you never know. But if that was brought before the parties, both major parties, conference. They have a state conference, a federal conference, and that was one of the things that they voted on, and that was going to be pushed through that sitting year. If they are the government, that could happen, but I don't see that happening anytime soon, unless a minor party or an independent held the balance of power, and that was a part of their manifesto or agenda or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So. Well, I guess we won't be hanging by our necks waiting on that one. You know,
No, unfortunately not.
no, it's a bit sad, but let's have a look at something we brought up earlier that I think is very relevant to what's going on here. We've got some Queensland crime statistics, and it's some pretty disturbing stuff. Like you
Yeah,
have a look at this graph here. Like it's wow. Back in 2001, we've seen some pretty high offences and whatnot. It's sort of a bit of a roller coaster ride, up and down,
yeah,
but it's steadily creeped up. And then here in the last few years, look at this. Like it
yeah.
just boom, it just peaks. 4,321 all offences in just December alone. Like that's just madness.
And if that happened in any other country or anything, the criminals would be locked up, put away, thrown away for good. And right now we're seeing the laws, the legislation's broken. In fact,
Mm,
because you cannot jail anyone unless they go through the steps, the trials and tribulations. They've got to prove that they've gone through diversion programs, they've gone through on-country programs, they've gone through X, Y, and Z before you can even consider jailing them. So that's why we
mm,
continue to see them go out on bail, and we see them not use jail is a last resort. That's legislated, which
mm.
comes under the UN Charter. So which then stops people, the judges that is, sending these kids straight to jail where they belong and getting them off the streets and stop this graph from climbing any higher.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we look at this stats, it's certainly not improving. And I had the privilege of speaking to somebody who used to be in the Cleveland Detention Center. We used to work there, and that particular individual had some very interesting things to say about how once upon a time they were able to sort of work with these kids a little bit more and encourage them and rehabilitate at least to some degree. But
Yep.
nowadays, you can't touch them, you can't do anything. They're just running amok. He was saying back in the day they used to have just a short fence around the place, and just the way they did
Yep.
things, they'd go and take them out, do a bit of crabbing and whatnot, and really relate to them and speak to them. But now they're not allowed to do that because that's someone else's job. The fences have had to go up because they can't control them, they can't administer any discipline. And again, he pointed out that a lot of this seems to be because of a third party interloper, unelected bureaucrats at the UN.
Yeah, I would say part of it would maybe be the UN with the Human Charter of Rights, the Charter of Human Rights, that is, sorry. But I would also say a lot of it comes down to the Human Rights Commission, the feel-good greenies and whatever that are part of that commission in inner city Brisbane, which pushes UN agenda, which is the Charter of Rights and whatever uh, gobbledygook that they come up next year with. And then the Human Rights Commission lobbies on behalf of them and pushes that agenda. So, you've got to be really careful nowadays because you're going to break the Human Rights Act and then you go to jail yourself.
Yeah.
It's just, you can't punish a child anymore. You can't give them a clip behind the ears like you probably would have 20 years ago.
Mm.
I'm not, and maybe we need a little bit more tough love because right now these kids don't have any respect. They don't know right from wrong. They don't care about authority whatsoever. They throw rocks at cop cars, and throw rocks at pedestrians. I seen the
Yeah.
other day a video of them driving past Stockland where the bus station is and pegging rocks at people waiting for a bloody bus. Like,
Yeah.
we're not in Afghanistan or something like that. We're in Australia. We're in
Yeah.
a modern country. We're not in a third world nation. Like that's the sort of behaviour you see from a country in the third world. Not our country, not Australia or Queensland for that matter. 5 years ago we wouldn't have seen any of this sort of stuff. I used to. Well, I'm only 24, so when I was in school, even you'd walk around safely. You wouldn't have to worry about getting mugged or someone coming and holding your knife point or whatever, ripping you out of your car or bashing you in your driveway or whatever for your keys or whatever. That wouldn't have happened 5 years ago. Now all of a sudden you got to look twice behind your shoulder before you go out, and then you got to look behind your shoulder the whole time while you're at the shops because you don't know if you're going to get mugged. It's a lot of people are scared, and rightly so.
Oh,
Just yeah.
definitely. Especially when you see news articles like this, where we've, you know, it's machete attack, cars stolen, house set on fire in Townsville, crime rampage. I mean, this is from
Yep.
2021, but, this is the kind of thing we are seeing quite regularly here.
Well, there was 13 cars stolen on Tuesday night.
There you go.
There was and a bloke got targeted on his motorbike. They come straight for him with a Hilux with a bull bar on it. Like he's got no hope on a motorbike when they're actually pinpointing people now. What if that was a lady jogging with her kids? And they've just aimed at them and taken them out. God forbid that ever happens, but that's the reality we're heading in now. That could happen, and
Oh,
these kids are
definitely.
just running absolute riot around everyone.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I remember, in my time in the mainstream media, and I'm just going to drop a little narrative here. This is a new little segment I'm going to do. It'll take 5 seconds, and we'll get right back to it.
yeah, you're
Tales from the dark side. Back when I was in the mainstream media,
yeah.
there we were at yet another crime report. I think it was a routine thing to do on a Monday. Like every Monday morning, you'd be down at the police station and taking some more tales of the weekend's rampant crime. It was
Yep.
become so routine, and disturbing at the same time. But I found myself just sort of, you just start shutting off. But there was this one particular day, we were there, and one of the officers was explaining that, like 15, 20, 20 odd years ago, that you never had to lock your door in Townsville. It was
No.
just a really safe place. And, now here we have an officer of the law who's he bought a bloody safe and bolted it to his kitchen bench to keep his car keys in over night time.
Jesus
I mean, that's the
Christ.
that's the police themselves having to take that kind of measures. Like I'm absolutely astounded that anybody in the police force could still be supporting this government when that's the kind of thing that they've got to deal with. And I've been on the police ride-alongs as well, and I've seen what's going on out there, and it's just. I don't know how they can get up every day and deal with that and know that they're going to catch them and then the courts are going to let them out again. Like, it's just infuriating.
Yeah, well, what jails are at 200%, so we're not going to see any of these kids going to jail anytime soon.
Mm.
They say they're building two new ones, one in Cairns at Gordonvale, I think it is, and the other one is in Brisbane or Bundaberg, I can't remember. Either or. Don't quote me, but there is two getting built. But they're 5-6 years away before they're functional.
Mm.
We need solutions now. And we've seen the latest articles from the opposition actually stating leaked texts where they said we're all out of options. We've got no options, and that's the Labor government saying that. So
What?
you've got a government in power right now that has put leaked texts out saying we're tapped out. We have no idea how to fix this issue. What do we do? Let's just create something. And there are solutions, from both sides of the political aisle. Whether that be the Katters Australian Party, One Nation with boot camps, Katters Australian Party with relocation sentencing, sending kids bush, or LNP. I think they just want to get rid of some gold standard intervention or whatever it is that was their grandiose idea, whatever that means. But yeah, so there are options out on the table. Yes, there is no silver bullet. You're not going to fix crime overnight. But I'll tell you this great story. You
Yep.
remember the bikies?
Yeah, and
Yep,
I remember I was in Victoria at the time when the bikie laws came in,
yep,
and we
yep,
were, well, that's pretty draconian, and I actually
yep.
had a couple of mates who were living here at the time, and the pretty heavily tattooed metalhead dudes, the kind of people that I'm
Yeah,
happy to call friends, and they were
yeah,
saying how rampant the cops went. Anybody that just looked remotely like a bikie was being pulled over and basically stripped naked in the streets.
yeah, yep.
But it seemed to have drive the bikies out of town. If
Yeah,
please
well,
elaborate.
the bikies overnight were shut down with legislation.
Mm.
Legislation shut the bikies down, which was a thriving enterprise. I won't say criminal because I don't want to get in trouble by anyone, but a thriving enterprise at the time, overnight just stopped, just like that. Why can't we do that with these youth crime gangs? That's what they are. They are gangs. They've got a motive. They're going in stealing cars and whatever they can. They're organised, and it's premeditated. They've planned it. So it's organised crime as far as I'm concerned. But to get a government to admit that, which is what I want the government to do, is admit that this is organised crime, and I want them to also stand up and say that, yeah, we failed. We're at a loss, and we don't have any solution right now. And you know, if they were upfront and honest about that, I think that would be probably the right direction to go. But we won't see that come out of this government, unfortunately. But it needs to happen.
Well, it's the first thing, you know, in any process of healing is to accept what's happening. You know, like you have to accept that there's a problem before you can start dealing with it. You know, and I mean, how many times are going to be screamed at? You know, it's mind-boggling. And like you say, these people, these politicians live here in the town. Yeah. Surely they've come across, you know, friends or family that have been affected by this, you know, like, I mean...
Or surely they've seen the Bulletin article day after day, or the 7 o'clock news, where they report on it daily. Surely they've seen that, you know, like, you can't tell me, but, you know, apparently there's no crime in Townsville. You know?
Wow,
So...
you know, I mean... Hopefully they're watching. We can point out this article here. You know, Townsville police arrest nearly 1,000 youths in crackdown on property crime and car thefts. And it's like, well done, the guys have got them. But we know that, you know, that the courts are going to let them out because of the inadequacy of the policy.
Yep. So the legislation that says jail is a last resort. So they get put out on bail, slap on the wrist, sent on to an on-country program that they never turn up to. And then we see the same kids night after night going out and stealing cars and doing the exact same thing they were doing the day before. And to me, I like, you see right now, the coppers, they just look deflated. They're at a loss. Like, they all look stressed, you know.
How can you not be deflated when all your hard work goes to waste, you know? Look, a total of 1,322 offenders were arrested and charged with a share of more than 4,000 offences, with juvenile offenders accounting for 3/4 of the group. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious that, you know, the juvenile offenders are the big problem, and it's because there is no punishment. You know, they know damn well that they can do whatever they want. From what I'm hearing, you know, that they seem to be able to play the system. They know how it works, and they're just getting off night after night. And you know, the amount of times I hear these stories now, kudos to the police who can still get out there and do their job. But I mean,
100%,
we've got the highest fines for traffic offences in the country now, like it, and so I mean, they don't seem to have any problem attacking the average motorist while he's trying to go to work, you know, fining them into submission.
They don't have a problem with fining me as a truck driver for inadequacies in my logbook, you know, like slap me with $5,000 worth of fines or whatever it is. I haven't thankfully been fined, but I've got mates who have got $10,000 worth of fines for inadequacies in their logbook. But let these criminals run rampant when night after night stealing people's property. Like, it makes zero sense. But I want to just bring back, you know how I was talking about the motorbike that got hit 2 nights ago?
Yeah, I was trying to find that article.
So there was 3 youths who were detained, right, and taken to the watch house. 2 of them are already out on bail.
Oh, wow.
And they targeted a bloke on a motorbike and he almost killed him for vehicular manslaughter. So 2 are already out on bail. So, like, how does that... How can you run around and say your laws are working when 2 nights ago they almost killed a poor bloke just travelling home or whatever he was doing, and now these kids are already back out on bail doing the same thing they were doing? Like, you know, we cannot continue to in this town. Yep, that's the article right there. Poor bloke.
A 27-year-old motorbike rider has been taken to hospital after he was hit by a stolen ute in Townsville, North Queensland. Police charged 3 teenagers over the crash and alleged they drove a stolen Nissan Navara on the wrong side of Riverway Drive. The alleged teenage driver and passengers of the ute were arrested shortly after the crash at 11:50 p.m. on Tuesday. And it's a wonderful thing to have happen. And, you got to get up and go to work on a Wednesday, and this is what's happened the night before, And, and it has become routine. Everybody turns their radio on in the morning just to see what chaos happened during the night if you didn't actually hear it happen out front of your own house.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, what about the 10-car convoy? There was a convoy of 10 stolen cars driving around Townsville last week and throwing rocks at people's cars as they're driving past, like just pegging them at 100 kilometres an hour. Like, and this is what we're putting up with in this city, It's just beyond a joke.
That's madness.
It gets me fired up, obviously, after our own house getting broken into. And then this is happening to countless other people in Townsville. Everyone I talk to knows someone who's been hit by crime, and yet we've got these 3 state Labor politicians who say, "Oh, there's no crime here. Our laws are working." Well, mate, clearly, you can see by the stats, or the fact that these kids just almost committed vehicular manslaughter, and now 2 of them are already out on bail. Like, your laws aren't working. They're a danger to the public. Lock them up, send them bush, and we wouldn't have a problem. I
know, and I've seen cases where Aboriginal elders put a proposal together to say, "Hey, we'll take our young and we'll take them out on country," and just right after a voice sort of situation. I think it's a very relevant construct, and that was pitched to the Labor government. But they needed, I think they were saying something about 30 to 45 days or something. They needed a good chunk of time because you got to break addiction habits, you got to break a lot of really ingrained habits, that they've either learnt from a bad family environment or whatever. There's obviously lots of different scenarios at play here. But they pitched that to the Labor government, and the Labor government, kicked it around, and a mere shadow of the idea comes out the other side, and I think they ended up with like a 3-day retreat or a week or something they were offered. It's just like, what can you do in 3 days or a week,
what's 3 days going to do for a kid that only knows a life of crime? Like that says nothing. Send them 12 months out there. Fund an Aboriginal program where these kids are under guard, but with these elders, for 12 months, learning life skills or whatever they want to go do. And it's not just Indigenous crime. It stems from both sides of the racial aisle. Like, it doesn't matter. Black, white, blue, or brindle, everyone is doing it, unfortunately, these kids. So, we need to come up with some practical solutions, give these kids a job or a skill or something so they can go be re-educated as functioning members of our society. Until that happens, these kids know no different. They'll go into jail, they'll get their feed or whatever, then they'll get put back out and they'll do the same thing and go back in for another feed and Xbox and whatever else they want to do.
Yeah, they definitely need some form of rehabilitation. I mean, we had that fella, I've forgotten his first name, Toomey, I think it was, who had the ranch.
Yeah, Jeff Toomey had Wonderland Station.
Yeah, and he had remarkable results, and again, the government cut his funding.
Yeah, it was an 85% strike rate. It follows pretty much the exact same principles as the Cutters Australian Party's relocation sentencing, and it worked. It worked.
Yeah.
He was funded by the Newman government, Campbell Newman government, and when Palaszczuk took power, they scrapped his funding.
Yeah.
Like, because of, it's just, it's mind-boggling. A program that actually worked, and you scrap it overnight.
It begs the question, like, why would you do that? Like, do they want the crime? Is that the thing, or are they just really that bad at their jobs? Because I can't see it being anything else than being absolutely useless at your own job, or that you intentionally are creating this crime for some purpose.
Well, I would say that they're actually just bloody useless. That's my take on it, because there's no way you would want to have this crime. And why would you? Why would you want people's lives in danger you're trying to get elected as a government, I just believe they're inadequate at doing their job. They simply have no more ideas because they're tapped out with the Human Rights Commission, and if they do anything wrong, well, then they'll be, they'll have litigation and the Human Rights Commission up their wazoo. So they don't want to step out of line with them, and at the same time ruining everyday Queenslanders' lives with youth crime.
So let's look at this Human Rights Commission thing a little bit further. So I was under the impression that the government kind of sits at the top, and you seem to be implying that the Human Rights Commission is above the government and perhaps dictating the terms.
Well, you got to look at it this way. You've got powerful lobby groups. So another good one is the gun lobbyists and stuff like that. The Christian lobbyists. You've got the Human Rights Commission, which is a lobby group, but also it calls itself a commission. You've got all these feel-good Amnesty International type organisations that all lobby the government at the same time. So you've got those sort of organisations, whether they be left or right, aligned. Human Rights Commission, Amnesty International and all that, obviously left. So they're going to call for leniency and all these feel-good programs like On Country and retreats and stuff like that, which will dumb down and water down the laws. And if they've got more money and they're funding or providing donations to MPs or whatever it might be, they could be. I haven't looked into it that much, but I dare say they would be handing over funds like Amnesty International would be funding the Greens and those sort of do-gooding places because they want to see those watered-down laws. They want to see the age of the criminal age raised to 14 to 16. So then they're not liable under the criminal code. They're just let off free. That's what the Human Rights Commission and those sorts of organisations are pushing for. That is the agenda at hand, is to raise the criminal age of responsibility from 11 to 14 and then from 14 to 16. So
for what reason? We looked at those crime statistics. It's just, I mean, how can you look at these stats and then turn around and say, hey, you know what? We should make it, harder to arrest people. We should make it harder to punish people. We should, open up the doors here.
Give them utter immunity and give them a slap on the wrist and send them away. Yeah, the numbers don't lie.
Yeah,
the numbers don't lie, man. Yeah.
So what is the purpose then of these, groups and lobbyists? Why would they want to do this? It seems that are they that out of touch? Yeah, I'd love to.
Because it makes you warm and fuzzy inside, mate. It makes you feel like you're a part of something. 100%.
How can you feel warm and fuzzy about these statistics?
No, they don't care about those numbers. They care about the kid. Right, they care about a 14, 11-year-old kid going to jail and how traumatic that might be for them. That's the best place for them because they know no right from wrong. These feel-good organisations are killing this country right now and killing our state and killing our town because they're allowing the government to water down the laws by funding them or pushing and lobbying hard and ensuring that this crime stays open for business, and they feel good because they're trying to raise the criminal age of responsibility. So
how can you be that out of touch with reality? I mean,
well, you live in an apartment building at 40 stories high in inner city Brisbane or Sydney or wherever you might be. Who cares when you're there? That's how they feel. It's like the climate change activists and stuff in Brisbane. They drive a Porsche and they got a $3 million home that's made with brick and mortar, and then they say, "Oh, stop oil or save the trees," and they've got a brand new Porsche out front.
Massive big screen TV, devices all around their house, and some Google security system or whatnot. I don't know what maybe they're going to put a push bike out the back with a little strap on it and a generator, and they're going to power it that way.
I highly doubt that. Oh, you wouldn't see them doing that.
Well, they might not have any choice if they keep getting their way.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what I mean. That is what we're dealing with. Those are the types of people we're dealing with. They're the people driving this legislation through the Labor Party, and who are, whether or not they're involved in the Labor Party and at the conference, and they hold the numbers and they're pushing the agenda for the next 12 months for that party. Because you've got to remember, every member of those major parties go to a conference every year and they vote within their own party on what legislation they're going to push and what they're not going to push. So, we've heard the Youth Justice Minister talk about raising the criminal age of responsibility. You heard the Greens talking about raising the criminal age of responsibility. So it's coming, and we're going to see crime go berserk because these kids are going to have complete immunity when it comes to these crimes. So it's scary. So if we can try and raise awareness, is why I'm holding this rally on Sunday and why I held the one earlier in the year, June, July, to raise awareness. Yes, it might fall on deaf ears, but at least we're having a bloody go. What else are we going to do as private citizens? A, we can't go kick down doors, and B, we can't go arrest these kids, but we sure as hell can rally and show our frustrations. And time and time again, I get people, most people oh, why would you bloody hold a rally? It does nothing. The government don't care. If we're seen by the media and we're out in front and we're showing that we've had a gutful and we've had enough, that is all we need to do to show this government. And the government sees it, and I can tell you that. I've had conversations the last 2 days with relevant departments I cannot disclose, but they are seen and they are scared of the rally on this weekend because it is going to highlight the frustrations of the people of Townsville at the Premier's community cabinet meeting. So,
So what's this community... Sorry, what's that meeting all about?
So the community cabinet meeting, I've requested to have a meeting with the Premier. Whether I get it confirmed or denied is yet to be announced. But basically, you put in a submission to have 15 minutes with the Premier and tell her whatever issue it might be. It might be a cultural issue. It might be about roads. It might be about whatever issue it might be. Mine would be obviously crime at the moment. Obviously, I've got other issues, but that's my main one at the moment. Basically, to speak to the Premier and tell her what you believe is the right way to go about said issue, or what is the government doing in that space. That is what these community cabinet meetings are. So there's about 6 25-minute or 15-minute meetings, and there's already 150 submissions to meet the Premier. Wow. So, she's only there from 3 to 6 p.m. And, if she does not come out at this rally, that just speaks to the whole entire population of Townsville that this government does not give a goddamn about you. So, we'll see.
Maybe we have to crank up that Michael Jackson song, All I've got to say is they don't really care about us.
100%. But, yeah, we'll see. You can only try. And, that's why I say to people, get involved in the political process and stuff like that. Hold a rally for whatever issue you might believe is something that is affecting you and your family. Just give it a go, because you don't know what's going to happen. And, you might raise vital awareness for someone who might not have any clue what's going on. So, get involved, have a go, hold a rally of your own. I don't have to. I could, right now I'm driving a truck, so I could be out gallivanting across wherever it is, but I feel a need and a compassion to try and drive awareness about this issue and try and force the government to do something. So yeah, I just say to everyone, give it a go, come down on Sunday, and let's show this Premier what Townsville can really do.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely be down there with a camera to document this, yet another historic occasion regarding crime in this town. The amount of footage that's been taken for crime in this town, it's beyond belief, mate. But, will you be running with the Katter Party again this next coming election? Or, people like to maybe get behind you instead of one of these Labor cronies?
Yeah, yet to be announced. I'm currently which was leaked the other day. I'm currently in a pre-selection battle at the moment for one of the three seats.
Okay, yeah, I think Channel Seven
But
said something like about that. Yeah.
yeah, so yet to be announced or yet to be determined if I've won that pre-selection or not.
Okay.
But yeah, there was comments that this rally's political. It's anything but political. After being a victim of crime myself, my partner and my young 2-week-old baby being exposed to a young thug in our own house and stole our car. This is personal. This is something that needs to change right now. We cannot wait any longer. So, yeah, politics aside, I couldn't give a damn about the politics right now. It's about getting justice for our town and making sure that Townsville is a safe place to live in. So
Definitely, mate.
yeah,
It's one of those things. I think most of us who haven't yet experienced are just sort of waiting for our turn. Really, I've
yeah.
been pretty lucky so far, and touch wood, it stays that way. But
And I hope it
when
does. I hope it does.
yeah, well, thanks, mate. And especially when you see numbers
Yeah.
like that, though, it's pretty disheartening. You just kind of feel
Oh
like
yeah.
every night you go to bed, you hoping that you didn't pull the short straw this tonight.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we're definitely got to get
Yeah.
onto that. But look, mate, I
100%.
think we've covered this topic pretty extensively.
Yeah.
There
No,
doesn't
definitely.
seem to be any comments or anybody wanting to ask a question. I think we all sort of know where we stand and what's going on.
Oh,
But
100%. Yeah.
if people want to get in contact with you, there's your email address there, clinton.hawks@yahoo.com.au.
Yep.
Throw a bit of support behind you.
Or they can hop on my political page where I post this sort of thing at Clinton Hawks, and yeah, just follow me on there and yeah, see what I'm up to. I'm always up to something, whether it's a rally or at the local markets or whatever issue it might be. I'm there tackling them one at a time. So yeah, just watch this space. You never know what might be coming next.
No worries. Well, thank you very much for coming on and sharing your
No, my
insight. We'll
pleasure.
have to get you on again to discuss
Yeah.
another range of issues that we have here in Townsville. I mean, when you said you've got a few issues, I know I got a few too, especially when
Oh
it
yeah,
comes
hundred
to
percent.
digital ID, this misinformation bill. Like,
Yeah.
you have a
Oh,
look at my.
happy. I'm happy to comment on anything. You give me a time, and I'll be there. Hopefully, not in the cab of the truck, but back at home in the office, and we can discuss any issue under the sun. More than happy to yeah, be on the show anytime, and I appreciate you asking me to be on here. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome, man. And we appreciate you having you here too, man. So,
No,
well, you have a good one, buddy, and I will wrap this show up for the people. Till next
no
time,
worries.
man.
I'll see you next time.
So, thanks, mate. So, boys and girls, obviously support the channel. All the other links via Linktree. We've got some Bitcoin there and PayPal and a few other things. Obviously we've got a GoFundMe going to get this Indigenous documentary happening. If you want to contact me for any reason, that's the best way. If you've got a story that you want to share, you want to jump on the network and talk about an issue that is affecting you, or if you've been affected by crime and you want to, talk about your experience and how that's worked, definitely keen on whistleblowers from any particular field as well. We need to get people informed as to what's really going on. And every time I get out there amongst the community, I keep finding new people. Like, wow, it's awesome that you're doing what you're doing. And now that they know that we're here and doing this, they're keen to jump in and give us a little bit of input as to what's going on. So by all means, that this is what we're here for. This is what I do, is to help give the people a voice, because our politicians really aren't giving us the voice that we want. We've also got a Patreon set up because I do put a lot of time and effort into these things, and these platforms, things that I've built here, actually cost money. There are monthly subscription fees and whatnot. So if you're able to contribute in some way or join our Patreon, we're going to put some stuff behind a paywall very soon. It's only $10 a month. It's not too much to ask, to help support a network that is supporting you. So, without further ado, I will give you a quick rundown. Tomorrow we have Darren Dixon. I'm going to be going live to Cafe Lockout for the first time, which is going to be pretty interesting. So you can still see this stuff on across all our networks. So, wherever your favorite place to view this stuff is still available. Plus, Cafe Lockout as well is going to increase the reach. And we've got a comment here. Depanda1. What's going on over here then? Well, I'm about to wrap up the show. Was that your only question, mate? But yeah, by all means, tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, 7 p.m. Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, drop in, say g'day. I reckon we've going to have some pretty interesting content for you with Darren. He's a very, very well educated man, self-educated into the legal structure, and I've certainly used some of his strategies and saved myself quite a lot of money. So I definitely recommend you tune in tomorrow. You're going to really love that, and hopefully we'll have some time for some questions towards the end. Please try and keep it simple. If you write out a novel, it's probably not going to be working. But anyway, till next time, have a good one. And, of course, stay free.